everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Jen. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you what our homeschooling schedule looks like for this new year with all the ages and grades that we have going on. I have 6 kids, but I'm currently only homeschooling 5 of them. My oldest son is in college right now. He just started college this year, so very exciting. But as of right now, I have my 2 oldest daughters in high school. Actually, my oldest daughter this is going to be her last year of high school. So she's in grade 12. My other daughter is in grade 10. And then I have my son in grade 8 and my 2 youngest daughters, grade 6 and grade 2. So with the exception of my 2 youngest, everybody else is about 2 years apart. Since my oldest started high school kind of consecutively every 2 years, there's been another high schooler. I feel like I was thinking about this, and I feel like we were sort of unofficially doing a loose version of what I'm going to talk about of this schedule when he was in high school. When he started grade 11, then my daughter, she started grade 9. And so I had, two high schoolers. And so I feel like we had sort of already shifted a little bit in how our daily rhythm was going, having high schoolers. It feels like this year is kind of the first year where I've officially made it. It's intentional, if that makes sense. I've kind of put it on the schedule. So anyway, I just thought I would share that with you. And of course, it's still early in the year. A lot can change. I may come back and maybe do a check-in with you guys in a few months and let you know how things are going. Also, with that being said, like anything else, like any other schedule or routine or flow or any of that, every day it can be different, right? Things happen, things get thrown into the mix. It's more just to have a purpose and to have a plan in place that everybody kind of knows, general idea of the flow of the day, and that's what we try our best to stick to. So the first thing I want to talk about is everyone's dynamic and everybody's situation is going to be different because homeschooling comes in all different shapes and sizes, which is the beauty of it all. For us, once my kids hit high school, they are doing high school online so that they are actually going to receive credits for their diploma. So they will be graduating high school with an official high school diploma to then apply to college and stuff. But we do that, and also a mix of things where I am working with them, things where I'm teaching them, adding in subjects or things that just they're not getting online, or just very specific things that I want to do with them, personally, one-on-one. I want to be the one to teach them. With that being said, it is very important to me, when we decided to do it that way, kind of a mix of both, it was still really, really important to me that I didn't want it to feel like they were just kind of going off and doing their own thing all day. Of course, there's a big difference between doing high school leveled work and high school courses and classes. I think regardless of whether or not you're teaching it or your kids are doing an online program or something like that, it's just very different than middle school even. But it was really important to me because in general, in our homeschool, it's important to me that we keep a sense of a community within our own family during homeschool time, and that there's just things that we do that are so important and precious to me that I did not want to let go of. Not because, I just have a hard time letting go of it, but just that it really was important to me that we kept these things even through the high school years. And obviously, if they had to shift and change and we sort of had to adapt a little bit, that's fine. But I just did not want to let go of certain things altogether. So really for me, that was our morning time together. And it's not so much because I don't want to let go of morning time, but the way that we have navigated morning time, I just felt like the time we spent was just so valuable and just so life-giving, honestly, to everybody in the family, it really has cultivated this feeling of closeness and a bond and just so many deep and meaningful conversations and questions. It just was really important to me that we kept that going. The biggest thing that we do during our morning time, the thing that means the most to me, is that we do a family devotional, and we also do Bible verse memorization. So we do a lot of other things, but especially those two things. It's the kind of thing where we can talk about stuff and have discussions, and you know, if anybody has any questions, just even sort of hearing people's takes on things, or again, questions being answered that probably otherwise wouldn't come up. You know, being able to pray together and just that time, like it's just been such a special time. Along with that, we do throw in other things. We do a read aloud, and then I mix in like poetry. Every day is a little different, but I mix in like poetry, and we maybe learn about wildlife or the weather or space, or I don't know, whatever's going on at the time, whatever we may be focusing on at the time. We might do a missionary study. You know, on average, our morning time takes about an hour, give or take. And yes, it is time consuming, I guess. And when you're, you know, in high school, their workload is more, and it does take them more time to finish what they need to finish in the day. So what we were doing before is basically, you know, the older kids would come down in the morning. They would start on their independent work. So they would just start working on whatever it was that they didn't need me for, which is a lot of what they're doing at that point. Aside from me checking stuff, most of what they're doing is independent. At some point we would get into our morning time once everybody else was up. We would get into our morning time, and then usually some point in the afternoon I would meet with variations of them to do group subjects. For this year, that's sort of what we're doing, but kind of a reverse situation. So I have on our fridge, I kind of keep all the routines and schedules and charts and things so that everybody, I mean, I go over it with everybody, but then everybody can kind of see it at a glance. It's all there. So this is the one that I have. This is our newly revised daily morning routine during homeschool days. My aim as of now is to start school with the older kids by 8 a.m. 8:30 is already pushing it. 8 a.m. is ideally where I want to be starting school. By that point, they need to have showered. Now we do like a whole schedule with showers and stuff like that. So some of them shower in the morning, some of them shower in the night. But anyway, showers, the dog has to be fed and walked, and they need to be like dressed and ready to go. What I'm doing in the mornings before we start morning time, so with my 3 oldest kids, my 2 high schoolers, and then my son who's in grade 8. My daughters, typically, they like to sleep in anyway, so at this point, they're usually still asleep. If they happen to wake up, it's very odd if they do. But if they do, it's not a big deal because they can just start on their breakfast, and even they have morning binders and things that they could occupy themselves with, but it's rare. In the mornings, what I aim to do, because I am trying to get up in the mornings very early to work out, whether I'm going to the gym or just doing it at home. And this is the first year, this is very different because this is the first year I've ever done that, but I'm really trying to put a priority on doing that because I know from previous experience that it's a lot easier to just like dismiss that time as the day goes on and it gets busier and we have appointments and schedule things and, you know, extracurriculars and all that kind of stuff. I'm trying to get that time done. So I'm getting up myself at like 6:30, and so that by 8 o'clock we are sitting down and I am working on anything that's group subject with my 3 older kids. So again, that could be all 3 of them, that could be combinations of 2 of them. So that we're talking things like history, science, we have our Who is God series, and then logic. I think that's pretty much it as of now that I can think of. And so we're doing all of our group things, and then again, that maybe takes a half an hour to 45 minutes. If I'm doing 2 subjects, like if I'm doing 2 separate things in one morning, it could take about an hour. Usually history is really the only thing because I'm doing 2 different history one with my oldest daughter and then the other one with my next two. And so we usually do those on the same days, but about an hour tops. And then by that time, ideally, my little girls are getting up, they've had their breakfast. I'm having my breakfast at that point. Now the older kids can tackle, they have like some morning things to do. Once the little girls get up, we do our morning time. And then usually after morning time, it kind of depends on the time that it is when we're done, but it's either usually break or close to break. So if it's not quite break time yet, the kids usually just have enough time to do their independent devotionals, journals, morning binders. That's pretty much it. And then it's morning break. And so by the time that all of that is done and we have come back to start back on school, we're done all of our group stuff and everybody now has the rest of the day to just work on independent work. The other thing that that does is that gives me time to work one-on-one with the littler girls. So, you know, things that I'm doing with them, some math, language arts, things like that. And then the rest of the afternoon, it's more just if the kids need help, obviously I'm in the room with them. If they need help with something, if we need to go over something, if I need to check their work, that kind of stuff, I'm available for all that. Now there are a couple of things, like if we're doing a Good and the Beautiful science unit, that is something that I do with my 4 youngest kids. That would be something obviously that we would do in the afternoon, but those types of things we don't do every single day. Where maybe if we're doing a unit at the time, we're maybe doing it twice a week, where I'd have to pull, you know, my other 2 kids in on it. But again, that's not all the time. I just feel like doing it this way is kind of the best of both worlds, because we're still fitting everything in. We're just getting an earlier start, but it's an earlier start for the kids that need an earlier start. You know, my little girls don't need to start school at 8 a.m. because they are, like I said, they are not good in the morning anyway, so it gives them the opportunity to sleep in, but also they're still getting all their work done on time. And it also gives me that like uninterrupted time just with my older kids. We're kind of doing that, and then like I said, the rest of the day goes pretty smoothly because it is mostly everybody just kind of working on their grade leveled subjects, and then me just being around to help if they need help. And then you know, the kids have chore charts and stuff, which I'm going to do in a different video what that looks like during school. But one of the things that we do in the morning time is whoever's day it is to load the dishwasher after school and start it is also the same person who unloads the dishwasher in the morning from the night before, from the dinner dishes. So at some point in the morning, I don't really care when it gets done. I want it done before our morning break. So at some point in the morning, whoever's day it is, unloads the dishwasher. Another thing that we also have on a schedule is everybody has a different day to do laundry because you can imagine the laundry can easily get out of control. And then I mean, we've been doing this now for a few years, but it took me way too long to realize like everybody was like fighting over when it was their time to do, like everybody wanted to do laundry at the same time. It was like days and days and days, nobody's doing the laundry, and then all of a sudden everybody wants to do their laundry on a Thursday. So I had to schedule that as well. So whoever's day it is, at some point before we go on break for the morning, you put in your load of laundry and you start it. And the key is to have it complete by the end of the day. So you start it in the morning, and then at some point in the afternoon, you switch it to the dryer. And then before the night is over, you've taken it out and you have put your laundry away so that the next day it's clear and the next person can do their laundry. That's really it. You know, I don't want my younger girls sleeping in any later than 9:30. Well, 9:15, because I want to start morning time by about 9:30-ish. So by then they've hopefully gotten up and eaten and everything like that. And then on an average day, we can get done school by about 2 o'clock. Here's the other thing I want to say. You know, a lot of times I hear homeschoolers talk about how like, well, there's no homework, right? Because you are kind of doing the things as you go. And yes, like that is true to a certain extent. But having already had a child who has graduated and is now in college, and having 2 other kids in high school, I also know that really no matter what, of course there's a difference, because you're not in a class with 30 other kids and you're not like waiting for them to be done, and you sort of are going at your own pace. Like there's definite differences that make it advantageous, I think, to homeschooling. But in general, the learning, the workload, the courses, and just overall the teaching, the reading, all that stuff just takes more time. It's more intense, and it just takes more time no matter what. So in terms of homework, I don't know if I want to call it homework necessarily, but there are times when my older kids, and again, even with my son who is now in college, they did work on stuff like at night. It wasn't like assigned work, because that's not how it works. Even their online class, like I don't assign them work, right? Obviously anything they do with me, we're just doing in, at that moment, and it's done. In terms of their online courses and stuff, they can work at their own pace. There's not really deadlines in that sense. That's not really how it works. They kind of have the entire year to complete the courses for that year, and they have to pace themselves. And even with exams and stuff, they can, like, we can schedule that whenever we want within the year time frame. So there is a lot of freedom in that. Part of being a mom and being a homeschool teacher is, teaching my kids not to leave things to the last minute, not to procrastinate, right? To try to be ahead a little bit so that you give yourself a buffer, because we always talk about how things come up, or you get sick, or maybe you want to take a day off if we're doing something, and we just want to be able to have that opportunity to say, you know what, like I'm good because I've been tackling my work, and so I can afford to take a day off, or I can afford to like be sick for a couple of days and not work on school. They may just know that they have an assignment they're working on and they just want to get it done, or maybe they're coming to the end of a course and so they just want to wrap it up. And so very often I will find my high schoolers, I would say 2 to 3 times a week, they are working on school off school hours, I guess. That's great. I think that's good. Obviously, again, it's going to look different for everybody, but I wouldn't say that it's a clear-cut thing that, just because you're homeschooled, that everything is necessarily done by a certain time every day. But again, like I have my daughter, my oldest daughter, she is working. She got a job. She wanted to, and if anything, like I was kind of hesitant about it. Because we talked to her about, the first thing that comes before anything else is school. And so, this can't interfere with anything that needs to be done for school. And so we didn't want to see her slacking in any way, or even just like being like too tired to, focus on school. And, so far she's been handling it well, and she's been doing fine. But again, because she is working some evenings and weekends, she has to find pockets of time outside of our like regular scheduled school day to tackle some stuff so that she's not, like I said, falling behind. I feel like I'm in a new era. I mean, I sort of am, but I'm not, right? Because like I said, I have a son, he's already gone through high school, he's in college. To have like a college student, high schoolers, a kid in grade 8, and then my 2 youngest girls, I don't know, I feel like it's a different, it just feels different. But I am glad for this like rhythm that we've kind of got in. Again, it's early on, so I could come back on here and be like, guys, remember when I was talking about my fantastic idea for our new schedule? Yeah, well, and I'm sure there are going to be days that are like that. On paper and in general, this is what's working. This is, I think this is how we're going to do it for the foreseeable future. I will for sure keep you posted, but I really, really, really am so happy that we still have our together time, and that everybody's not just like going off in their own directions first thing. It's just such a special time. So that's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, just a little glimpse on what our year is looking like, what our day-to-day is looking like. If you're new, I would love it if you subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you in my next one.